This is a SandyBoy Productions podcast.
Welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, where we help women remove the overwhelm of living their most holistic life. This is the place to find evidence-based nutrition tactics, healthy lifestyle and wellness tips, abundance mindset, and easily implementable low-tox living strategies so you can rise up to your full potential and protect your family's health. I'm your host, Stacey, certified holistic nutritionist and better living advocate. Now, let's get empowered with some simple swaps that make a big impact for optimal wellness.
Hey mama, have you ever thought about homeschooling? Well, today's episode is for you. It is episode 67 with my dear friend, Sara Annis. Sara is actually on my beauty counter team and we met several years ago, and I am just so dang thankful to have her in my life. She is a woman of faith and she is a woman that really isn't afraid to go after what she wants and creating her ideal life. And she is a health educator turned homeschool mom of two. She has two beautiful daughters, and her passion is to support families in their journey to healthy, intentional living. She can be found on Clean Living with Kids on Instagram, and she is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to living a healthy, holistic life. And I just love her dedication and drive. Sara is such a gem, and I'm, again, so thankful to know her. So in today's episode, we dive into why homeschooling. For those of you who don't know, I actually started homeschooling hybrid, I guess you would call it, last year. Or was it this year? I don't know. It's the year 2022. Who knows what's really going on anymore? But Cohen goes to co-op a few days a week, and then I homeschool the rest of the time. And he is going to be 5 in June of 2022. And Sara's kids are just around the same age and a little bit older. And she made the shift as well. And we have just so much to learn from each other. And she's doing it right. So if you have any questions for her, just reach out. I'm sure that she would be happy to help. And we will leave all of the ways to reach Sara in the show notes. And I really hope that you find inspiration from this episode. Here we are. Here's Sara Annis. Sara Lynn Annis, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, my friend.
Thank you.
I am so stoked to have you here. Before we get into the conversation that I want to talk to you about today, which is homeschooling and mom life, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So like you said, my name is Sara. I am a mom to 2 girls. One is 8 and one is 6. And I've been married to my husband, Joe, for 10 years now. Most of my life consists of homeschooling them, keeping them alive. And then I also have a beauty counter business that I have been doing almost 3 years now. And along with that, I'm getting ready for teaching as an independent contractor some homeschool classes next year at a co-op. So that is exciting and keeping me busy.
Okay, so let's back up. When did you decide, my friend, to do homeschooling?
So homeschool was in the back of my mind when my oldest daughter started kindergarten, but I was really overwhelmed with the idea of taking over her education. So instead, we started her with public school in August of 2019. And we were still thinking about it throughout the year. I just felt like she was gone so long. Like we barely saw her between school and her being tired and ready for bed before 7 p.m. because their day was so long. And then March of 2020 hit, which I think is a familiar story for a lot of newer homeschoolers. And we did the e-learning thing. Luckily for us, she was so young. It wasn't like an overwhelming situation. She wasn't online a lot, but we were like, you know what? We can do this. We're not loving what school's looking like for this next calendar year. Let's just try it. So we did. And I would be remiss to say there weren't some obstacles along the way, but we made it through the first year. My second one started kindergarten this year, and I was again like really hesitant to teach somebody how to read. I was like, I don't know how to do that. I don't have any background in that. For some reason, I was really overwhelmed by that idea, but tried it, and we are almost done with this school year. So it's worked itself out. It's just, some bumps along the way.
Okay. So I have known you for a good handful of years now, and I have been following your process and your progress in terms of homeschooling. And the reason why, Sara, I wanted to talk to you about this is because I feel like when you make a decision, you as a person, you make a decision and you do well at things in your life. Like if you're passionate about something, if you know you want to do something, you do it. And I want to know what it looks like for you, Sara, like homeschooling. I mean, do you have like a fancy setup, or are you just kind of like, when you first started, was it just like, let's just do this, let's get some workbooks, or like, are you one of those like homeschool moms at this point where you're like, you've got like a nice, like perfect, like doesn't have to be perfect, but like a designated area, like what you see on Pinterest with homeschooling moms? Like, what does it look like for you?
Okay, so our first year, which was last year, my daughter attended a hybrid school. So she did school from home 3 days. She went to a facility 2 days. That looked very different than this year because I didn't pick our curriculum. It was really just us doing the work from our kitchen table on the 3 days she was home. Where this year, I took it all on myself as far as choosing what curriculum I wanted to do and what our life was going to look like. But to be honest, I am not an Instagram worthy homeschool mom. My space is, we have a bookshelf that the bottom couple shelves are the school stuff. I will be honest that they never end up back where they're supposed to. It drives me crazy. And they still we don't have desks. Sometimes they do school on the couch. Sometimes they do it on the floor. Sometimes it's at the kitchen table. And initially I thought I would become more structured throughout this year. We actually moved in July. So we just didn't have a lot of time to figure that out. But now it's just, I don't need that. I don't need the specific space. I don't need traditional school stuff to be up. I like having our few things and then being able to do our school wherever we want. I like that flexibility.
Yeah. I really like how you're like, this is homeschool today. And you're, like taking pictures of like your kids outdoors and stuff like that. So what for like the moms out there that are considering doing homeschooling, what tips do you have? What have you learned, and do you think that people should feel stressed about this if they want to do it? Because I do know a handful, Sara, of women that are like, I really want to do it, but they're feeling overwhelmed. So what are your tips and what have you learned that you can share with people? I feel like you're already so good at it. So I just really would like your wisdom.
Well, that's sweet of you to say. I would say that I've learned, so many things through trial and error. But one of the things that I think people, maybe the myth of homeschool, is that homeschool moms create their own curriculum and every day are planning out their day. And that's what it has to look like. And that you're going to do school from 8 to 3 like you would in traditional school. So many pieces that are false. I personally buy a curriculum. You can buy full curriculums where you're just waking up and picking it up and looking at it that day. There's online programs. Where we live specifically, there's a lot of different supplemental programs. I had mentioned I'm teaching in a co-op. There are co-ops. There are YMCA programs. There are clubs and library programs. It's just this myth that you have to do it and you need to be creating hours upon hours of lesson plans every day. That is just not the truth. Laws can vary very much by state what your homeschool life looks like. Living in Indiana, luckily for us, we live in one of the most flexible states where we just have to do 180 days of school and we get to decide what that looks like. Not every state is that lax about hours and about requirements. But for us specifically, I get to decide if school is going to the zoo. I get to decide if school is us baking in the kitchen. And I definitely want my kids to get their core curriculum of math and language, which we do, but school does not have to be what we learned in traditional school. I definitely, with my two girls, spend between maybe an hour and a half and 2 hours a day on book work. It depends how fast they decide to get through it. And then our day is hours. So I think that people need to really do some soul searching of what they want their kids to learn and what is important and enforces their values, not the values that they think society places on education. Because maybe your kid really cares about a specific subject and you're going to spend tons of time about that researching and learning. And I think there's more value to that in their personal growth than worrying about them being good at, again, traditionally what we were told was important, because that changes all the time. What it was important. I mean, they don't even learn cursive anymore if they don't want to. We spent hours upon hours. So you get to decide as a parent, and just because you try it doesn't mean you have to continue. Like, give yourself a chance to see what works, if it's working. And if it doesn't, you didn't fail, you tried, and maybe you find a different fit school-wise for your family.
Hey, Mama, I know how you feel. I felt the same way too. Overwhelmed, wanting to live a more holistic lifestyle, wanting to prioritize myself, right? But guess what? You don't have to suffer anymore. I have a breakthrough for you, and it's coming on May 16th. Holistic Breakthrough Live is back, and it's just for you, Mama. It's just for you so that you can start living your life in the way that you envision it, and you can create the health that you truly want and deserve. I want you to set yourself up for success with feasible lifestyle shifts, and it's all happening during this breakthrough week. From May 16th to May 20th, you can join me live in my private Facebook group for 5 days of inspiration, education, and quite frankly, an amazing community. What you're going to learn are key components that are going to help you create clarity toward your most holistic life. You're going to learn how to define your story and why it impacts your daily health decisions. You're going to learn how to implement a plant-based lifestyle, or at least start eating more plants. You're going to learn how to reduce your toxic load and how to set yourself up for success in terms of your environment. And finally, you're going to have a better vision for the steps that you need to take to become the most healthy and up-leveled you. I know that you're tired of feeling overwhelmed, and I know that you're tired of putting yourself last. This week is going to help change all of that for you. So I'm asking for you to show up with the energy that you want and that you want to share with the world. Whether it's gaining more confidence, your long-term health, being more eco-friendly, or keeping your body and your family safe, this week will be game-changing. So if you're in, just click the link down in the show notes to join Holistic Breakthrough Live, and I will see you there. Are you coming? So that brings me to two questions. What was it about public school that you were like, maybe just the homeschool route's better? Were there any specific things that, not, better, we're not like trying to compare, but like for you and your family, like what was it that you were like, let's take the reins, let's take control, and let's do this at home?
Yeah. One of the number one factors was time. Mm-hmm. Like I had mentioned previously, they spend a lot of time in school between riding the bus and getting there and getting home. I mean, my daughter was gone from 7 till 3. I'd also mentioned she was super tired, so she was going to bed a few hours later after she got home. So I definitely missed feeling like I was an integral part of who she was. Maybe when people hear that, they are taken aback, but I realized her teachers spent more time with her than I did. And I didn't love how much, I guess, they were able to maybe mold who my child was becoming, where before, as a stay-at-home parent, I was her primary caregiver. I was the one giving her knowledge and opinions and reinforcing our family's values. And no longer was I the one getting the most time to do that. So that was a piece. The other piece was the flexibility for us. We missed feeling like our weekends were ours because we wanted her to have downtime. So then we felt like on the weekends we couldn't do a ton. We missed having flexibility in vacations, and where we lived had a shorter summer because we did that hybrid school schedule where you got 2 weeks at fall, Christmas, and spring. So that cuts your summer shorter. So that was like such the big piece of just time and flexibility for all of us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And Sarah, that is so powerful. People just don't think about, how much our environment really does mold the type of person that we become. And if you are listening to this episode and you're like, I love my children's school. I love the people. I love the curriculum, and you love it all and you feel at peace with it, that is great. But if you don't, and you do question, things on a normal basis, it might be time to consider looking at doing something, at home with your children so that you can be a bigger part of helping to mold the type of person that they become and, and learn what they really want to learn and excel at what they are really doing well at. So, okay. What curriculum do you like, Sarah? Because I'm doing the hybrid, I guess you would call it, where we're homeschooling 3 days a week. And then Cohen is going to a co-op 2 days a week. And I know there, like you said, there's a lot of online, there's workbooks, there's books. Like, what are you liking? And what do you think is a good place for people to start just off the bat if they do want to start homeschooling next year?
I personally would say the easiest thing to probably do is choose to purchase the curriculum of some kind, because that will give you planned out lessons where your children are receiving what they need to at that grade level. It's just an easier way to start than to pick and choose, and then supplementing where you want to along the way. I used the first year of Becca, and then the second year I've used The Good and the Beautiful. They both are religious-based curriculum. So that's also something you need to consider, what your family's personal values are, if you want to include religion or you do not. But I would say that all-in-one really is very helpful to just guide you and make sure that you're hitting the milestones that you want to for your child throughout that year. Now, this year, along with using The Good and the Beautiful, I did piece together my daughter's math. I say that because my daughter in kindergarten is very advanced in math. And I found that I did not want to buy a kindergarten curriculum, but I also was worried that if I jumped to first grade that I would miss some things. So what I did instead is I looked at online standards, which it's very easy to go. It's like K through 5 and look on just what are the different subjects that are hit per grade. And then you can decide, hey, do I want to find some free worksheets for that or pay for some? I mean, there's like teachersforteachers.com where people are selling lessons and workbook pages, or there's so many things on Pinterest, especially for the younger ages where you can print that off. So I did some of that. I picked up some workbooks here and there and just made sure that I hit the different topics that I wanted to. For instance, in kindergarten, you want to hit shapes. You want to be able to add and subtract at a lower level. Because she was more advanced, I was also looking at first grade. So I was looking at money. She picks up some multiplication, which is weird, but it's because she's hearing her older sister doing those things. So again, I personally think setting yourself up with tools, picking something that's already pre-created makes it easier in the beginning. And then you can kind of decide, oh, I really like this. Oh, I don't like this, and kind of go from there. I've heard a lot of people like the Matthew-C curriculum for math. I have not used that, but I've heard really good things. And people will give you their suggestions on curriculum, and you can kind of go along with that. But in the end, I think in the beginning, just having that plan, and then from there, maybe growing your wings and building stuff yourself is easier once you have some confidence.
Hey friend, from the previous message, you know I'm all about that low tox life, and Portland Bee Balm is no different. Beyond the amazing quality of their balm, Portland Bee Balm is committed to creating sustainable products, which is hugely important to me. They're members of the 1% for the planet, which means they donate 1% of revenue to organizations tackling our planet's most pressing environmental issues. And this is amazing. Products that are useful, natural, and add value to people's lives and the world. Portland Bee Balm provides the best hydration for your lips with clean and simple ingredients. I use a lip balm every morning and evening after I wash my face, and Portland Bee Balm has so many different varieties of scents, but my favorite is the Oregon Mint, which is so fresh and clean. The ingredients they source, the packaging that they use, all support health and well-being to the environment and community. It's so awesome. Go to portlandbeebalm.com and use this code Stacey Heine for 20% off your first order. Okay, so speaking of plan, Sarah, what does it look like for you in your life? Like, you're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, you do have you have an Instagram, you have a blog. Like, how do you balance all of this? Are you, I know you're like a homemaker. I know you like to make a lot of homemade food. So, and a lot of people looking from the outside in, like, they're probably like, how is she doing all of this? Right. And you said like the girls are at right now about 1.5 hours to 2 hours of book work a day. Are you following a plan on a weekly basis? Like, do you have set times that the girls are doing their work? Or are you just kind of like fly by the seat of your pants, like type of girl?
I think I am a big mix. And that is because I'm not a great planner as far as like having a paper planner and looking at it and block like a time blocker. I've always dreamed that I was one of those people who would block off my time. It just is not. Yeah, it's just not my natural inclination. As far as school, we do start at a similar time, and I think that's just naturally what we've fallen into. We start about 8:30. And that is because my kids get up around 7. We kind of all do our own thing for a while, but we are up early. And by 8:30, they're pretty ready. Mm-hmm. So we do begin around then and end around 10, 9:30, 10. It just depends how focused they are to just get their stuff done. Just go ask your dad. Sorry.
We're gonna leave this on the episode because this is mom life, guys.
Right. Totally. Could I ever do something alone?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
Sarah's upstairs trying to, like basically in a closet, like she's like on the floor, like trying to get this done. And I have a toddler who is in timeout next door to me. So, it's like hashtag mom life. Like, let's just be real here.
100%. So anyway, we do have a natural flow, and it also varies by our activities. So for instance, like my girls are in Girl Scouts. My girls also attend, as I had mentioned, we attend a few co-ops. So some days, like, we need to be gone by 8:30. Those days, I count co-op as a school day as it is. So we don't do book work here, but on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, we do. And it varies that way. So that does keep us on a schedule to a certain extent. And as far as my activities, just my personal activities, there has been things that have fallen to the wayside. And I'll be totally honest about that. My blog, for instance, as soon as I started homeschooling, that was something that hit the back burner. And part of that was that I just didn't miss it enough to make the time. Now, maybe I will hit a time in my life again where I crave that creative outlet and prioritize that. But I hit the point where I just wasn't in it enough to make that time at 5:00 in the morning, which was the time. That was when I used to do it. So
that was a really powerful way to say that, Sarah, because I just want to give you a props and a bravo. And like for anybody listening to this, Sarah just said that so beautifully. Did you guys hear how she said she doesn't have enough time? Like she said she didn't miss it enough to make the time, that is like a whole mindset shift, Sarah. Like we are all living in this life saying we don't have enough time, but like you just owned it. So I feel like you should get a huge pat on the back because you're like, look, I just don't miss it enough to make the time. Like that was a big bravo moment. I think that you should be really proud of yourself. And I think that was an incredible wording. So just way to go on that. That was awesome.
Well, thank you. I mean, but it's true. I mean, when we look deep down, it's easy to want to make excuses for the things we are not doing. In reality, we are all spending time somewhere that if we really wanted to do it, we would find it. So for me, when I started my blog, I was doing it at 5 a.m. till 7 a.m. And I found passion in that and it brought me joy and it was worth it. And when it stopped being worth it, I needed to flip. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Instagram can be the same thing. I'm finding that social media, can either be a positive space where you're learning and you're growing and you find joy, or it can become a very negative space where it's not adding to your life. So as I said, there's the give and the take. Right now, I'm not spending as much time on those things because I'm spending time building my curriculum for my co-op classes. I'm spending more time with my kids and my family, and I'm also spending more time doing things I want to do, like read.
Love it.
I mean, and I'm honest about that. And what for my beauty counter business, again, like I'm not a huge planner, but I am grateful to Beauty Counter for being organized for me. When I started, the tools that were given to me were not as good as they are now, but really now they're pretty fantastic. I will log in there at really whatever time works for me, which sometimes is right in the morning when I get up. And sometimes I'm looking at it at like 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. But just looking at what's coming, looking at what is going on with my clients and my team. And I am grateful that I can do that wherever I need to. So some people are more organized about that and have a certain time of day they do it, which bravo to them. For me, the scattered personality I have is, I need to do this today. I haven't done it yet. But I get it in where I can. I appreciate that I'm able to do that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, Sarah, before we wrap up, because I know that you and I are both busy mamas on the run, trying to do all the dang things. Do you have any last tips that you want to share regarding homeschool, mom life, entrepreneur life, just any message really that's on your heart? If not, it's okay. But if you do, let us know.
Yeah. You know what? I think my advice for both is the same, that just because you try it and it doesn't work doesn't mean you have failed. You at least have given yourself the option to try. So don't let fear of not being a Pinterest-worthy homeschool mom or an amazing entrepreneur who's making 6 figures hold you back from at least giving yourself the effort and just giving it a chance, because maybe you will find that it is the most amazing choice you ever made. And even if it isn't, you at least gave yourself the opportunity to test out the waters. Because I think that's the big thing for most of us is it's that whole idea that we're not going to be the best at it, or we're not going to be as good as Joe next door is. I have those moments all the time where I'm like, wow, they are so much better at this than me. Why am I even doing it? And then I look back and it's like, just because it's perfect for them or it's working for them doesn't mean the way I'm doing it isn't a great way to do it or isn't working for our family. So I think, just give yourself some grace to not be amazing, but to try and to be good.
So. Faith over fear. I love it, Sara. Okay. Last question. I ask everybody this question. What does holistic living mean to you?
Oh man. So holistic living means to me that you are letting every portion of your life affect who you become, whether that's your faith or that's your wellness or it is your relationships or your emotional stature. All of those pieces are making up who you are in a holistic way. So when you're looking to live your life that way, you're taking into account all of those factors to be the person that you want to be or who you're looking to become.
So good. All right, Sara. Thank you, my friend. I hope that this episode inspires you, if you're listening, to make sure that you connect with Sara. First off, as she said, she's not as busy on Instagram as she used to be, but I am sure she'd be happy to help you through the DMs if you have any questions about her life, homeschooling, beauty counter, mom life, just whatever, faith. Sara, I hope that you don't care. I'm telling people that you're going to be there to help them.
No, I am more than happy to connect through my DMs and get something besides, will you sell my Amazon price?
Totally.
That is actually what that is the best part of social media, is meeting new people and having legitimate connections.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
love that.
Cool. All right. Well, I am thankful for you and I will see you soon. Thanks, friend.
All right. Same then. Bye.
I'm over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of The Urban Pharmacy. For today's show notes, head on over to theurbanpharmacy.com and be sure to join us inside our private Facebook group called The Urban Pharmacy, where we share inspiration, live trainings, and holistic living tips to help you build community and the healthy lifestyle that you've always wanted. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Before we connect again on the next show, follow me on Instagram at The Urban Pharmacy. That's urban with an H and pharmacy with an F. And I can't wait to hear your wellness journey as we get to know each other better. There's truly no better time than now to level up your life, and I am so proud of you for showing up today. Until next time, be well, Health Crusader.